According to Geopolitical Monitor, the United States carried out a pre-dawn raid in Caracas on January 3rd that resulted in the capture of Venezuela's president, Nicolás Maduro, and his wife, Cilia Flores. The report says the couple will face U.S. criminal charges, and the fallout could reshape regional politics for years. The report states the operation included large-scale strikes in and around the capital. It also says that Venezuelan sources reported roughly 40 civilian and military deaths linked to the raid, and that there were no reported U.S. casualties. The article adds that the U.S. Attorney General, Pam Bondi, indicated that Maduro and Flores would face narco-terrorism charges in the United States. Geopolitical Monitor frames the raid as a high-visibility, high-impact move by Washington and notes that U.S. officials have sought to justify the actions by disputing Maduro's legitimacy as Venezuela's lawful leader. The report says the U.S. administration has argued, at least in part, that Maduro does not represent the legitimate government of Venezuela, and the article is telling that legitimacy claim is central to how the operation is being presented publicly and politically. As described by Geopolitical Monitor, Maduro and Flores are now in U.S. hands and are expected to face U.S. prosecution under narco-terrorism allegations, as referenced by the Attorney General. The article also emphasizes that reactions abroad are developing. It describes a mixed early response among U.S. allies, saying some countries have spoken generally about international law, while others appear to be avoiding a direct, definitive stance as the situation unfolds. Geopolitical Monitor argues that the implications go far beyond one arrest in one courtroom. First, the report says the question of international law and head of state immunity. It states that international law traditionally grants sitting heads of states immunity, and it claims the raid would be viewed as unlawful under that framework, while also noting the U.S. position that Maduro's legitimacy is disputed. Second, the report compares this moment to the 1989 U.S. capture of Manuel Noriega during the invasion of Panama. According to the article, Noriega's case occurred within the context of a broader military occupation and a strategic objective of securing the Panama Canal. The report contrasts that with the Venezuela operation by questioning what comes next on the ground in Venezuela, particularly if there is no sustained presence to shape the post-capture political environment. Third, the report suggests that Maduro's removal may not automatically dismantle the governing networks around him. It describes a system of actors and structures that it says has operated under Maduro and argues that leadership could be replaced while many of those networks remain intact. The report also says that this could create a political narrative in Venezuela in which Maduro becomes a symbol or martyr, depending on how internal factions or successor leaders respond. Fourth, the article situates the operation within broader regional trends it says are becoming clearer in the second Trump term. Geopolitical Monitor says U.S. strategic attention is shifting toward the Americas and highlights what it calls a Trump corollary to the Monroe Doctrine tied to recent U.S. national security framing. The report also notes a pattern of linking regional actions to the counter-narcotics objective, pointing to claims about fentanyl, cartels, and now Venezuela as a narco state. In the article, characterization. Finally, the report warns about escalation risk in cases where limited strikes trigger wider instability. It describes a preference to symbolic, high-profile actions without new long-term commitments, while cautioning that even surgical operations can produce unpredictable outcomes, citing Libya and Syria as examples of how state instability can deepen after limited interventions. According to Geopolitical Monitor, the capture of Venezuela's president is a watershed event, legally, politically, and strategically, whose consequences will unfold across Venezuela, the Americas, and the wider international system. The story is developing, and the next signal to watch are the legal process in the United States, the reactions of governments across the region, and how Venezuela's internal power structure responds in the days ahead.